Hi, Brandon.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm so excited for this chat today. I feel like we've been talking about this for a while, but this seems to be the right time for this chat. As you know, I work with a lot of college students nowadays. Mainly, I'll say you were probably one of the first
Right.
because my age limit to work with clients were probably 21 before I met people like yourself, where I realized that there was a need for coaching in college to help young people have the tools, right, the mind tools to feel supported. So it's with great gratitude that I have this chat with you today to help understand the challenges of college and the drinking culture, I'm going to call it, right around that. And if you do choose to have a sober and healthy, balanced college experience, that there are challenges around that. And that's what you're going to, help us all understand what are the helpful tools that help you and you believe also can help others, because it can be an overwhelming experience, right?
Right.
If you don't have the tools. Now, just
Absolutely.
stay, absolutely. Let's just stay. How old are you now?
I'm 22 years old.
And you
So,
finished college?
yeah, I finished college a year ago. And I mean, I'll just preface this. It was really easy to transition from going from college into working full time, working 80 plus hours a week because of the tools I had and what we've done in the past couple, was it 3 or 4 years?
I can't even believe it, but yes, it's music to my ears, when you say things like that, because I know that it wasn't always like that, right? So we started there and should we just rewind? Should we go back to college time when you started as a freshman? And I guess there was in the beginning quite a lot of partying going on, and tell me how you were feeling and how it
Yeah.
all began
Well, I
before
think
the.
like any 18-year-old going to a big school or just at college in general, you're excited, you're getting out of the house for the first time. You have a lot of excitement and you want to go and have fun and enjoy it completely. And a big part of that for me was even when I was in high school, I grew up, I liked to party. I started drinking, 14, 13 years old with friends and having fun. And it was just like a perfect thing for me just to go into college and continue doing it and keep having fun. And it really, started to escalate when I got to school. And I met people that also like to do the same thing. And we don't have, everyone is on their own. And some people are more used to being independent than others. I mean, in my case, I was more used to being independent. And because when I was, growing up, it was more of an independent environment where my parents, separated when I was younger. So, I got to experiment and party a lot younger than a lot of people, but I think that led to me, going a little further than others. And when I was, got into college, I started having fun, have a great roommate. Um,
Talk me
and
through the process of the whole kind of arriving and fraternity. And because obviously I'm from Europe, so that whole thing is new to me. And I know there's a lot of peer pressure probably
yeah,
too, I'm guessing, with the whole pledging and rushing, all these words that I've learned through my time working with college students now.
yeah. So a lot of the schools have like the Greek life, which is, it's a social club that you join and you go through a process. And for a lot of people, there are pros and there are cons to both. There's the pros of, you learn how to get along in a big group, speak in a crowd, network. And then the cons are a lot of them like to party really hard. And there's an expectation of having fun and drinking and doing drugs sometimes. So that's really common. And I think there's a fine line that people, have to walk when they're in that of, getting their schoolwork done and partying. And some people are able to drink and party and do really well in school while others fall really far behind.
Mm.
And they don't always have like a drinking or drug problem, but they just get caught up in it where, they're going out 3 to 4 times a week and they're losing sight of why they're there. And then, I think in my opinion, the last couple of years when I was sober in college, I started to notice the people that I talked to, they always ask me, they were so surprised, oh, you're sober? Because I'm still like having fun, going to different, events.
Because you're clearly a cool dude. So we're just gonna say that. So that's probably why they were so surprised,
Yeah, I
right?
had
Because you're like,
fun.
you're cool and you're fun and you're not drinking.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I would have fun. Like I would see, my friends go date around, do the whole college thing. What I was gonna say is the fine line is people that, get the really bad anxiety that would talk to me about this. I had so many people come up to me and be like, "Oh, I can't sleep during the weekdays," or "I have horrible anxiety." It all stemmed, in my opinion, from, when you drink and party like 3 to 4 times a week, that, messes with your rhythm, like your sleep schedule, your circadian rhythm, it messes with your health, everything. So I think that really offsets balances. That's what I experienced. And then
Yeah.
when I stopped partying and stuff, I was sleeping on a normal schedule, waking up feeling good. There's not as many highs and super low lows of like waking up hungover and being exhausted and then feeling like, oh, like not very happy and not motivated, not driven. And not only that, but just not content.
And that's huge, right? And that's what I was just gonna say. You really realize how it was affecting you emotionally,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, big time. I mean,
Mm.
for me, it was different than some other people that are just partying in college. I kind of, went a little too far, like I said. So went completely sober. But a
Mm.
lot of people, you decide it's a choice at the
Yeah.
end of the day. Um,
So when
no
you
one can
took,
keep you
yeah,
sober.
sorry.
Nobody can keep you sober, but yourself and what you believe in and what you
Yeah.
do to stay sober.
So let's just go to that moment where you are partying and having fun, but you're not having that much fun because emotionally you're not feeling okay, right? So you're thinking something has to change.
Mhm.
Now, I think it's important to ask because I get this question a lot from parents. Like, what did you need in that moment in your, like, did you need something from your parents? Did you need support? How did you even take that step of, hey, like I'm not in a good spot, something has to change? Because that's hard to admit that to oneself, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most difficult thing is to admit that, you're in a weak position or that you're not feeling too great because you just want to keep going and hanging out with people. And what really stuck out to me was when I was experiencing that and not feeling well. I had family members that also, went through the same thing. I have an older sister who went through the same thing, and she kind of like I was lucky that she nudged me into like, Brandon, look at this, look what's happening, look at the problem that you're having, and she kind of guided me through it. But it was for me, it stopped having as much fun as often. So let's say when I would drink and have fun, it's like 3 out of 3 nights a week, I'm having a great time. Then it was like two out of then one, and then none of them. But then I'm just doing it to keep up, and I'm like, oh, like this would used to make me happy. It should still make me happy. And then you get older and you evolve and you change and like your preferences and your tastes. And I really saw that.
I want to hear, how did you find the strength? Because I know there's peer pressure. I know it's hard in those moments with everybody doing something that seems the norm and you being different. How did you find the confidence and the strength? I mean, I know, but I want everybody else to hear your version of it,
Yeah,
like to actually go, like, this is not working for me. I'm going to change this and
yeah,
be different in that moment.
yeah. So what I found for me was I had to take a specific route, and that helps a lot of people that are struggling. Where
Yeah.
um, you know my parents kind of got involved, and then I went to a 12-step program, and that really guided me. I met some people that were successful. There's some bad stigma around 12-step programs, but I had some successful people show me, hey, look, your life can be this much better. You can achieve this much. You're already doing this stuff behind the ball because you're hungover, you're doing this. If you get your act together, you can achieve and feel good. And I saw them, they're happy, joyous, and free. That's what they said. And I was looking at these people, and it's like, you can't fake that. You can't fake that energy, that smile, like the confidence with, they have just genuine confidence. And I was looking at them and I'm like, wow, this person met some guy who he got sober at the same age as me, 19. And he was 43 years old, and he lived in Los Angeles, was like, had a really nice house, drove a nice car, had a family, and like did fun activities. And like, you could tell, like I saw him over multiple weeks, over multiple months, and he was just happy. He was just like a happy guy. Sure, he went through his problems, but what we learned, and like when you get sober and you work with someone like yourself, you realize that you don't have bad days, you have these bad moments. And then the tools that we get by talking, by meditating, by labeling, all these tools that you provide are, what make us able to get past those moments and then switch the day up, get outside, go for a meditation, talk to someone, go on a walk. So many things that sometimes you'd be like, oh, I had a bad day, hold it in, let's go get a drink later. Instead of doing that, we are proactive of like, you know, getting on the tools instead of waiting until 2 days later when, you had your bad day and then turned into a weekend of drinking and partying. And then Sunday, you're like, oh, you don't feel good. You didn't solve the issue that was going on. And then you just keep rolling it in week after week. So.
And I know creating a routine was something that was like massive for you, right? We worked hard on that. And I know workout. Talk me through like, because I think, can you even remember the first time I suggested to you to meditate?
Yeah, I thought it was ridiculous.
I thought it was ridiculous. Exactly. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's so foreign to like people my age. That's like meditation, like we're used to being on our phones or like watching TV. And she wants me to sit here in my thoughts and feelings and listen to something with my eyes closed. What is she high?
I love it. We're just being honest because this is how most of us feel. I remember when I started, 3 minutes a day was just so difficult to sit still for 3 minutes, right? 2 minutes, I was like, eye open, are we done? Like,
Right.
But now, like when I speak to you, you're like, oh, I meditated and I meditated last night and, you got your friends meditating.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like an enjoyable escape and it just helps me stay calm and less stressed. It's so weird. And this is how I tell everyone. And I've heard this because a lot of the people that are sober, almost all of them meditate as well. And you listen to the people that meditate and they're able to sleep well. There's so many benefits, but not only that, I remember, hearing this and they're like, meditation is exactly like going to the gym. You don't walk into the gym and walk into the bench press and throw on 300 pounds and start going. You got to go in and start with the bar if you've never lifted weights before. So that's the same thing with meditation. You got to start with 1, 2, 3 minutes and then you slowly get into it. So that's what I did. I would put on the 10-minute meditation and like 2 minutes in, I'm up and I'm like, oh, this sucks.
You'd be like, oh no, we still have 8 minutes to go.
Yeah. And then eventually, like now my routine is very structured of some people do it in the morning. I do a little bit when I walk to work, but I get my really good meditation right before I sleep. I play a meditation, 10, 12 minutes, and then I turn it off and like I set my alarm and I knock out like that and I sleep pretty well. And the nights I don't, I do feel a little different. But the consistency over a long period of time, I've noticed, my stress levels are not as high. My anxiety is not really there like it used to be. So
I use you as an example often, as in when I tell this sentence to people, you are one of them that I think in my mind, and many others too, right? Where I see the best results is discipline and consistency, right? It means just showing up even when you don't want to. And I know that you 100% know that if one pillar slips, as in the sleep or the diet or the exercise or the meditation, you're like, whoa, I'm off my routine, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it slips and then, I notice it now. And like, let's say I'm hungry. I'm hungry and I'm tired and like I haven't been on routine and I'm hanging out, let's say with my girlfriend. She's like, oh my, like, what's wrong with you? Like, do you need something? And I'm like, I'm going to get some food. Like, I need to take care of my needs.
Yeah.
I'm just a person that needs to put my needs, first take care of like my basic, we call it like halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, get that under control. And then, then I'll be a happy and joyous person. But if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating well, I'm not exercising, I'm not meditating, I'm not talking to people, and I'm not going to be as sharp and as happy as I would be.
Can we go back to college for a moment? I want to know how you dealt with difficult moments where people may have made you feel like you were like not fitting in or like being different because you weren't going to have a drink. Because I hear people ask me this a lot. How do I deal with that, Camilla? How did you deal with it?
I think the biggest thing that I learned is just like leave. Who cares what they think? You know what I mean? That's a hard part for a lot of people. And that I used to care so much and it used to really bother me. And in the beginning, I was going to these places and people, they're not trying to be mean, like they're my friends, but they're like, have one beer won't hurt. Like, what's the big deal? Have a drink. just have one, hang out. They want to hang out with me. You know what I mean? It's not like they're like, drink. It's like, oh, have a drink with me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So what I would do is, after a bit, I'm like annoyed of being like, nah, I'm good. Oh, I'm okay. Not today. I'm not drinking today. I just leave. I just be like, all right, later. I'll see you guys later. And be like, ah, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm out the door and they're drunk in 45, an hour, they forget. And people are so caught up in themselves. They're like, oh, they're going to, like, I used to leave and be like, oh, they're going to remember that, blah, blah, blah. No one's going to remember anything. They're having fun. They're drinking. They're partying. They're not going to remember the 5 minutes that you said no.
Right.
But, I think the
That's the
benefit
truth.
for me was leaving always. And like, we learned that just, if you're not in a comfortable situation and you're jeopardizing what you've worked so hard for, and it's just one moment, get out of there. Call someone, talk it through. And then, the next day, if you want to do something, it's just like, I always hear, like, have a purpose for going somewhere, to hang out with someone or enjoy something, but be in the right headspace before you go into somewhere where people are like getting absolutely trash and really intoxicated, and they're having, quote unquote fun, because it is fun for some people, for sure. Like, I
Yeah.
remember a great time when I was really
Yeah.
drunk. But
Did you,
at a certain point, if you're not drinking and everyone's like talking about some story and you're just in some whatever house and they're throwing the beer pong back and forth and they're really drunk and it's like they're having the best time ever and you're standing there like, wait a second, this is like really pointless. Like, I'm not able to have a good conversation with anyone here. Everyone is just really incoherent or not cohesive. And at the same time, like, I could go home and like relax or get something done that I wanted to get done, go to the gym. So many things that I was able to do that set me up for, leaving school.
for life? I mean, you really chose, when you made this decision of doing the rest of your time sober at college, you chose to, like, it was sort of like life school. Like, you prepared yourself for life, like for what you're gonna do. And you've just carried that routine on. And that's what I'm just so proud of for you. It feels amazing. But I think it can be difficult, and if people are not confident yet. So I think it's important to just stress that sometimes we need to work a little bit on our confidence too, or knowing that we are enough, even with other people's judgment, right? To let go, know that people will have their opinions, like you said, even they might not remember in the morning. But sometimes we may need to spend a little time learning to love ourselves and know that that's enough, or that worthiness, so that we can say, hey, I don't care what your opinion is
Right.
about me, because as long as my mental health is okay, that's going to have to be enough.
Yeah. I mean, we worked on the I'm enough for a long time. And I just, people hear like, oh, like self-love. And there's kind of like I think, not a great like explanation of it, because people just use that to take days off work and be lazy, I think. And, a lot of people are like self-love and like they're drinking and like whatever. But I think it comes down to what we've worked on is just knowing like deep down that you're comfortable with yourself, sober, just you're standing in a room around a bunch of people and you don't have to think every second what they're thinking. You're just present, you're there, you're doing the action, whatever it may be, you're talking to someone and you just engage fully with them in a room of people. It's not like you're thinking about everything going on. So I think that's,
Yeah.
exactly what being enough is for me.
Coming back to the parents and just thinking in that, difficult situation where parents can't swoop in and do it for you, right? And they're seriously worried, right, about their, and they're seriously worried about their child at college. What can they do as parents, or can they do anything? Like, what's helpful, what's not helpful when
Right.
you're kind of about to take that decision? Like, you knew deep down, but the time, think before you were ready. Like, I'm sure your parents were suggesting things and you were like, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's helpful with mine was the approach of not enabling and like, hey, look, you're done. Like, the approach of exactly what it is. You're going down this path, stating what I'm doing objectively. You're drinking, you're partying, you're not caring. We see what you're doing. I see you're spending money on things you shouldn't be spending money on, drinking, drugs, whatever. And you're obviously not doing well. So we're going to pull you out and, put you somewhere or pull you out, and you can't go to school. Like, if we're paying for your college, absolutely not. You're done. Like, don't enable them and give them all these tools like, oh, like go here, do that. Like I think, in my opinion, what I've seen work with a lot of people being in a 12-step program and seeing a lot of people get sober successfully is having everything taken away of they lost it themselves. I lost privileges, all privileges. I lost the ability to, I lost trust. That was big with my parents and my family. Everything that comes into trusting your kid to go to school, that's gone because obviously you can't take care of yourself. So in my opinion, you need to not be like coddling. You can't be, and I'm sure, I mean, I'm not a parent, but that must be the hardest thing if you love your child, to be like, look, we're done. And I think my parents did a good job of that. My dad did a really good job of that. And he really stayed firm. And, I had a wake up call because that's what you need. It's either you hit a bottom or you keep going, like barely staying afloat, like most adults that live, maybe average or sub average lives of, drinking multiple times a week and not being that happy, probably multiple divorces, like the whole cycle that
Yeah.
I've seen with, parents and people
Yeah.
seen and been around, that they just keep drinking and they keep partying, or they keep not working on themselves in the way they should. And their lives never, it's not surprising, but they never like are really happy, or you never see them like in a good attitude, because either they never hit a bottom, which I'm grateful I did, and it's not very fun, but that provides you with the awakening, or they just kept staying afloat because people were enabling them.
That must have been a really tough time for your parents. And I have huge compassion for that, because they can definitely not be easy to watch your child hit that rock bottom, right? And if you were to go back to that part of yourself right now, right? Knowing what you know now, when you were in that bad spot, what would you say? What would you say to yourself?
See, that's tough. I would probably say to myself, um, I'd probably say that I shouldn't, all my emotions I'm having, they're not going to be permanent, they're temporary.
Boom.
Every emotion I'm feeling is, going to be temporary, and I'm going to get through this.
Wow.
Because even when we're sad or angry, it's only for a little bit and then it passes. And like, if you don't act it out in that moment and your emotion passes, then I think, everything will be okay.
I feel emotional you saying that, because I know the journey you've had to come to this place of giving this advice to yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And how all consuming those emotions can feel in that moment, right? Like it's the only thing that's there.
Right. I mean, a lot of people face that and they get into like either having a drink or eating a bunch of junk food, or, whatever it may be, of just being all consumed in self, being like, poor me, poor me. So it's really difficult because, to my core, I'm pretty selfish to my core, my thoughts, but then, I have to do all this work to change that, to try not to be selfish and, help some other people, or do what I need to do to live a better life. Because when I'm always worried about myself, that's when I'm self-conscious, I have anxiety, not feeling great because I'm always thinking about me. But when I'm thinking about other people, that all goes away and you're just present and you're acting in the moment. So
And I know you've mentored other people, right? And that's been
yeah,
like
for
a
sure.
good
Just
feeling,
helping
right?
people at school, like get them to places they need to go to figure it out. A couple guys that I've talked to, they're doing really well. One just graduated, over a year sober, and it's not like he got sober right away. He like struggled a lot. I went with him to different meetings and such,
Yeah.
and he would, struggle, and like he left, and then we just all you can do is plant the seed for someone
Yeah.
of that there's another way of living. So
Yeah.
that's
So
what.
some of the tools you use every day, obviously meditation, exercise, is there anything else that is vital to your routine?
Yeah, for me, I believe that there's something greater out there. I don't know what you want to call it. Doesn't matter to me. Honestly, I'm not really religious, but I do believe there's something else out there. And that just helps with the anxiety, because it's like, oh, some things are just out of my control. So I just pray once a day, just a general prayer. I'm not like saying all these things like, oh, please allow me to be of service, guide me in my thinking, do the right action, and keep my family and friends safe. Just super general. and keep me sober. That's all it is for me. And also I like to call other people, which is big. I call a couple friends that are sober, and I get out of my head. I say, "Oh, how's your day?" I make it a point, call 2 to 3 different people a day and ask them how their day is, because that gets me out of my own selfish thinking. So that's been really helpful. It's definitely a part of routine. And one other thing that I don't think we brought up that we both talk about a lot is gratitude.
Mm.
I have a group chat with my 2 friends. They're also sober for the last 2.5 years. And it's a gratitude chat. And we say, it doesn't matter if it's 5 things, 10 things, 3 things of like what you're grateful for, but you got to get it out. And that's how I start my day.
It's huge. I
Yeah.
talk about this in my book, It's Not You, It's Me, right? I talk about gratitude is literally a U-turn for the brain. It literally builds your brain in a different way.
Yeah,
It's huge to use gratitude.
100%. It's one of the most helpful things. It's like, it changes your mindset of like when you wake up and sometimes you don't feel too great of why do I have to go to work? Why do I have to go to work? Why do I have to show up to like, I
Mm.
get to show up. I get to go to work. I'm lucky to be in this position,
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll be drinking water in the morning and like I have a headache and I'm like, I'm grateful for water. I'm starting to feel better. It's just that
Right.
simple.
So if you have a tough day or a tough week or whatever, whatever goes on in life, we can all have those, right? Then you return to your using your tools. Like what is an example of how I mean, gratitude is one of them. Is there another example of how you can turn a week around or a day around or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think always getting outside and like going for a walk and resetting. If you're really stressed out, you're inside or you have a bad day at work or school, just go on a walk and, maybe put on something to listen to. It doesn't have to be meditation, it could be music, call a friend and just honestly just ask them how they're doing. Stop worrying about why you're having such a bad day and ask them because they could be having a worse day and you're like, wow, I feel better. They're doing way worse than me. Like
Right. You're
that's
actually tapping in that moment to the law of giving and receiving. And
yeah.
when we want to receive, like you're saying, we think about ourselves, but what we forget is to kickstart the law of giving and receiving. When we give, i.e., checking in with someone else or give a compliment to someone or whatever it is, or help someone else in that moment, you are kickstarting that. And before you know it, you're receiving goodness back, right? And that's the beauty of that. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm still thinking about what is the most helpful advice we can possibly share with somebody who is maybe scared to take that first step of deciding to be sober. And like we said, it doesn't matter whether you just I chose to be sober in life, right? I just earlier I was like, this is just not serving me. Like I just feel better for my health and well-being. If you want to have a more healthy experience in college, what are different ways as well that you can hang out with people? Because I think this is something that comes up a lot because they're like, well, what would I do if I'm not going to go and get drunk, basically?
Right. So, I mean, I think it comes down to like getting involved in different things of like when I started boxing a lot when I was at school, doing things that, sometimes in the back of your head, like you've always wanted to do, but you never really did. That's what gives you the time for. And I boxed when I was at home, when I was in high school, but never like at a real gym. But then I was like, I have the time when I first got sober. I'm like, oh, I have all this time. I'm not hungover. Let's do it. And that was one of the best experiences I've had. I went to like a Cuban boxing gym in Miami and I learned so much. I had a great time. And it's a skill that, in a workout that I really enjoyed. And like I was able to join like clubs on campus like that. Helped me get my first internship to like start me in the business world. And I wouldn't have done that. For me, I just wasn't very active in that kind of stuff. I was like, that's so lame. Like, I'm not going to do
Not
that.
judging, you weren't judging.
Right. Yeah,
And then you
exactly.
joined it.
Yeah, I would definitely judge a lot before. Absolutely.
And then you joined all of that instead, and you found it was
Yeah.
actually
And
helpful.
and that's the thing. I still have my best friends who I hang out with. I just visited 5 of them in New York and they were all in the fraternity and we went out, got dinner, everyone's drinking, having a good time. And I'm able to be like really good friends with them and enjoy their company. And it's been so long. It's in less than in a month will be 3 years that, I've been sober. So that's just now it's just who I am and we have fun and we're able to go out and sometimes we'll go like a cigar bar and have a cigar with some of them and they're drinking or whatever. but I still am able to hang out, have a great time. We go on like the boat, everyone's drinking sparkling water. The only difference is when we leave and they have their headache and their day's ruined, I'm just leaving with a tan, feeling good and hydrated. Because like I'm drinking a bunch of club soda and water the whole time while they're just pounding vodka
Right.
and White Claws and
And the
beer.
next day you feel great, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I had a great relaxing weekend. And they're like, oh, my weekend was not relaxing. But we were in the same place doing the same thing, but just a little different.
I think that's so important to say, right? Because I think people are worried in the beginning, like, will I still be fun? Will people
Right.
think, and I'm like, anyway, the sober friends I have, I'm like, darling, you're way more fun without
Yeah,
the drinking.
for sure.
Right. So you don't have that worry. You're not worried that you're not fun to be around or fun to hang out with. You know
No,
this about yourself.
yeah, I'm not worried about that at all.
Mm.
So
Okay. What about when it comes to the sort of the whole beginning, at college with the rushing and pledging? Do you think that's possible with somebody who wants to have a healthy lifestyle and choose to be sober? And if so, how?
it depends which one you want to do.
Mm.
There's different routes to take. I don't really know. Like, there's a lot of partying involved in that. So I don't know if that's the best route if you're not trying to be involved with partying and drinking. So that's just a hard route. If I was sober, I probably would have never done it in the first place because I wouldn't want to be a part of that. But I'm grateful I did because I have such great friends from it. But at the same time, I could not have done that when I was sober.
Got it. Just
Yeah,
being honest here, right?
absolutely.
Okay. So, is there anything else that you would like to share? Like, what have you noticed is the most positive thing that's come out of this
Yeah,
choice of being, sober and living a healthy
opportunity.
lifestyle?
For
Huh?
me, it was opportunity of realizing exactly what I wanted to do. Because a lot of people coming out of school, they just get a job and they're like, it's a job. But for me, like I'm in a career. I know what I want to do for the next 10, 15 years. Like I'm in commercial real estate. I love it. I love what I do. I have a lot of fun. I was able to choose the exact company and culture I wanted to be in. That's because I think I'm very aware and I was sober and coherent the whole time. And I thought about it for a year and a half of what I wanted to do. And I was able to like network and call people and hop on the phone with different professionals and industries and talk with them for long periods of time because I'm used to talking because of when I was in the program and I'm still in the program, you talk a lot to people struggling and your story and what have you. So that was a tool that I learned, that just talking, learning about other people and asking how they are opposed to being like me is how I realized exactly what I wanted to do for work. And I get up really early. I'm up at 5:30. I'm in the office by 6:15, and I stay there till 8 p.m. Like it's a long 5 days a week. Saturdays I'm in there sometimes, and it's just I'm in there a lot. And if you don't like what you do, that's miserable. But I have a lot of fun, and even though it's tough some days, it's rewarding and it's a good time. So I think being aware and not like putting it off to like I gotta get a job, to being like, what do I want to do? And figuring that out early was the best thing I could have done.
You speak with such a clear mind here, and obviously this is so fun for me to see and so good for me to see because I know it wasn't always like that. Do you remember back in the day when you were studying and hungover compared to then when you studied and you were clear in your mind?
Right.
Can we just talk about that for a moment?
Yeah,
What is the
so
difference?
well, I would be hungover and then taking Adderall, like trying to be like wired and drinking like 3, 4 cups of coffee, thinking like, oh, this is what I have to do. And then like it went from that to not at all, which was an adjustment of just like having a cup of coffee while I study, and I'm just absorbing more information and not like really feeling as stressed. And when it's done, I'm like, all right, I leave. And then like, oh, I'll look at it again. And, I was able to do better. Somehow I was like, well, I thought I had to take Adderall to, get good grades. And then my grades started going up the last 2 years of school, and was taking more classes and whatnot. So it was just about just like listening to like my body and just not cramming, just like being like a normal person where it's like, oh, I go to school and then, I'll study like a couple days before the exam, like 3 or 4, instead of like only one night before, stay up all night, just cramming my lifestyle. I just wasn't about being stressed out. Just doesn't feel good. And I learned that. So I was like, how do I avoid the feeling of anxiety and stress? Oh, that's how. Just be prepared. It took me
Were
a
you
while to get.
surprised? Yeah. Were you
Yeah, I was
surprised?
a
Yeah.
client for a long time. We worked on a ton of things over a long period of time.
And you still do. I'm proud of you because you are so willing to always evolve and improve. And that's just like a growth mindset, right? You are like, okay, this is happening. What can I do?
Yeah,
Right?
I just don't want to sit on the sidelines and let my life pass me by. I want to like make the most of it and have fun. And I'm lucky to have a family that they're all entrepreneurs and very successful, and everyone's driven.
Mhm.
And it's nice to be a part of a family that wasn't always like that. Half of them are used to like to party as well and change their
Mm.
lives
Mm.
in the last couple of years. So everyone in the family has been really driven and just wanting to achieve different things, because you get a satisfaction out of achieving things on your own. You really do. So that's what I'm learning. So
Yeah, there's a lot of love and support in your family, that I know as well, which is beautiful.
mm,
This has been such a great chat, and I think I just want to really mention one more time to anyone who has listened to this and thought, I want to have a more of a healthy lifestyle. I want them to know that there's support out there. There
yeah,
are different groups, there are different routes you can take. There are mind tools. There are even free meditations on apps like Insight Time where you can meditate with me. You can work with a therapist or a coach like myself, whatever it is, but know that with consistency and support, this is possible. And although Brandon right now, speaks with such confidence and is such a confident speaker, it wasn't always like that, right? And this has been a
right,
journey.
absolutely.
Yeah, we all have to start somewhere, but know
Mm.
that it's possible. And that's really why I wanted to have this chat today. Is there anything you would like to share to finish?
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. I used to literally shake with public speaking and talking. I literally couldn't get anything out in the beginning when we first started working together. I'm like, how interviews? I'm like, how are we going to do this? How am I going to be able to get a job ever? I can't even like communicate, and like it's just a lot of work. So I'm
Yeah.
really grateful for you to be in my life.
Thank you. Well, I'm super proud of you, and I'm really grateful that you're sharing your story today, so that we can show others that, hey, there's a different way if you want to know of the different way. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be the other way.
absolutely. Thank you so much.